Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5 on another day of serious breaking news. There's more fallout, and it's actually frightening, I believe, this whole Charlie Kirk thing, this Charlie Kirk being shot, awful that he was shot, but the way Republicans are responding to it and right-wingers, social media influencers, media, politicians, it is shocking. Some of them are calling for war. Language that should not be used, that language that is not helpful. You guys know that conservative activist influencer Charlie Kirk was shot at an event in Utah yesterday at a university there. The manhunt is still going on for the killer. There was a press conference earlier today that was abruptly canceled due to rapidly changing details or something like that. The FBI has released images of a person of interest sought in connection with the shooting. This is the person of interest that they believe they caught in the building, one of the buildings on campus. And then, according to investigators, that person, well, this is a person of interest, but the person who shot Charlie Kirk and killed him, whoever it is, then fled into the woods behind the university. And then investigators recovered a rifle, and they say they have a palm print, and they're working on other information. I want to bring in now someone to talk about this, and you know him, D.L. Hughley, my friend, one of the most influential people, I believe, of our time right now, especially when it comes to informing people. DL, thank you for joining us. You have seen, thank you, sir. You've seen the outrage from the right, and look, again, nobody is saying that, oh my gosh, we're happy that this happened to Charlie Kirk. It should, nobody, I don't believe in political violence. However, the right is saying, well, this is war and you liberals are killers.
What was it when the one congresswoman was murdered along with her husband in Minnesota and another congressman? See, because here's the thing. Now, they bantering the word assassination around. Charlie Kirk was not a political figure. I mean, he might have been influential to political figures. He wasn't a political figure. He wasn't assassinated. He was shot. He was shot. And that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, that happens to far too many people. But those other two congressmen, they were political figures, and they were shot because of their political beliefs. And it's always like we can only have empathy for people if we relate to them, if we spark to them, if we have a tribal connection to them. It is a shame. And the thing that makes me the angriest about this is I always swore that I would never cede my humanity to anybody or any other situation, but that's getting more and more difficult to do because I certainly don't believe a young man 31 years old should have lost his life. But Charlie Kirk was a horrible human being. He said horribly incendiary things. As a matter of fact, he died. The very last words he spoke were basically putting the onus of gun violence on gangs, which is a synonym for synonymous with black people. He blamed the very way he died was lying about black people with his last breath. And I just think the best thing I can say is that I hope he believed what he was saying. I hope he believed that lives being lost were worth it so the Second Amendment can persevere. I hope he believed that there should be a lack of empathy. He was parsing between sympathy. Sympathy means we have a similarity. Empathy means I have nothing to do with you, but I can still feel your pain as a human being. And I hope he believed all the rhetoric he espoused, because if not, that was certainly an empty, vacant way to live, and certainly a horrible way to die.
Speaking of, here is Charlie Kirk on empathy.
Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. Here's cut 64.
Okay, so you said, sympathy and empathy are different. It would be great if one could have both. And that means it sounds to me like he's saying, if I can't relate to you in any way, if you're not of my tribe, then I can't understand what it's like for you. Yeah. Therefore, I have no empathy, no feelings about, good feelings.
Exactly. Like even whenever, this is just my assessment of When I hear a white guy tell me how much he loves Christ, I wonder who he hates more, because it wasn't a mess of love and togetherness. It was separateness. It's superiority versus inferiority. Um, and it amazes me how when Jesus was sitting with Lazarus, uh, uh, when Lazarus was asleep, and he was sitting with I forgot her name. He was with her, crying with her, even though he knew that he would wake him up 5 minutes from now. Like he knew, but that's empathy. The very tenet, the very core of Christianity is empathy, loving your neighbor, not yourself, not people in your tribe. And they bastardize almost every aspect of this. Of they've taken terms and twisted them to mean something that they don't. He was a white nationalist who said horribly incendiary things about virtually everybody. If you didn't have his worldview, if you didn't see the world like he did, you were on the other side of it. I think that you shouldn't die for that. But unfortunately, that has always been the history of this country. So I don't think I don't have a hard time holding these two ideas in my head at one time. I think was a vile human being, and I think you shouldn't die for. If that were the standard or that was the predicate for killing somebody, I think anybody would be alive. But I think he shouldn't have died for that. But lionizing him, you're lowering the flag. Even if Charlie Kirk had been alive when that school shooting that happened at the same time, he would have thought that those lives were worth it. He thought, and very clearly, he thought that the gun laws were too tough. He thought they should have been relaxed. So he died the very way, protecting the very thing that would take his life. And I don't believe in karma. But I do think it's interesting. He wasn't killed in New York or LA, or he wasn't killed in Baltimore or any of the cities that they constantly hold up as whipping boy. He was killed in one of the whitest places on earth, and by someone that looked like him. You can tell. Let me tell you something. You know who it was because you know who it wasn't. When three words let you know when the black guy, Utah and at large. So I think it is a shame that such a young man was capable of such acrimony and vile speak. That's the saddest part to me.
Again, right now we don't know who the suspect is. You heard me read the update, I believe, DL, at the beginning of the show when we started, that there's still a suspect on the loose. There's been all this misinformation. There was something about there's a transgender connection. None of that has been confirmed right now.
Of course, because they arrested. You know how hard it is to find a white guy in Utah? That's got to be I think, and plus, look at who's looking for him. Between Pam Bondi and Cash Patel, they shouldn't be head of security at a junior college. But these are what we have as the head of law enforcement in this country, and it wasn't that because of their acumen. It was because of their loyalty, their fealty. And now, when you need professionalism, you need people with expertise. You don't have it.
Don't know, and still they're coming to conclusions about who is responsible, like Nancy Mace. Listen.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country call panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then, by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota? Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We don't know what condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking.
No, not at all.
You said the Democrats have owned it too. But I'm asking.
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a problem with political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
How do we know what he was? Like, we don't even know. And here's the thing. I guarantee. Now, I don't know who he was. I certainly don't know what his motivations are. But I do know this. I bet he was a white guy who could have a gun legally, and he was a good white guy with one of those guns. Who makes guns easier to get in a country so angry and so divided? Who insists on propagating more guns? Who insists on protecting gun lobbies? Who insists that we are safe enough? and that the cost of freedom is the lives of American citizens every single day. Who owns that? It's really simple. We shouldn't have such unfettered access to guns. We shouldn't be so callous about them. Even Charlie Kirk's own words said that it was acceptable to lose American lives as long as they got freedom to protect the Second Amendment so they can protect it. What other right is more important than the right to life? Like, what other thing are you saving up for that the Second Amendment is going to protect you for other than the sanctity of life? What does that mean? I guarantee you, if you committed abortions with a gun, it would be a whole different thing. But that's not the way it is. They don't care about lives. It should be an abomination. If you can't tell me political speak didn't kill that man, somebody with a gun did. And it's easier to get guns in America than it is Sudafed. And you tell me the problem is what somebody says has nothing to do with the fact that they have the apparatus to commit acts of violence. They have apparatuses to do it. They could walk around in many states with guns and unfettered access to them. And you think it's just words? Words didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Somebody with a gun did, and somebody with a gun that people like him and people on the right made it easier to have and to possess and to stockpile.
Speaking of the Second Amendment, here's Charlie Kirk.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at
Is that, this may sound harsh, but this is the world that he created, that he helped to create, the reality.
Listen, what is it? Proverbs 18:21. Life is death is in the power of the tongue. He said these things. He laid his life at the altar of the Second Amendment and see, the problem is he didn't think, nor did they think it would happen to one of them. He didn't think it would happen to him. But it's fine when school kids are dying. It's fine when people are getting shot at synagogues. Look at they tried to put a bomb they burned down where the sitting governor of Pennsylvania was sitting, was with his family. Was this kind of outrage? They have tried to assassinate the president of the United States of America. He was a candidate at that time in 2 times in the same month. But nothing has changed other than our pointing of fingers. If we want to make America safer, if we want to stop the rash of gun deaths, we have to decide that it's important enough for us to do it. And what they've decided is the gun lobby and whatever their personal ideologies are more important. The only thing, when I look at these people, the only thing, the freedom, who yell freedom loudest, they only want freedom to tell people that have unfettered access.
Did we lose DL? There we go. You're back.
That's the only freedom that these people seem to want is unfettered access to weapons and freedom to tell women what to do with their bodies. That's not freedom at all. I don't think that there's a something. People get mad when I say this. I don't think that there's a substantive difference between religious fundamentalists, Islamist religious fundamentalists, and Christian nationalists. I don't think there's a big difference because what they're doing in that part of the world, they'd like to do here. They would like to be able to do all that they do here. What stops them is certain areas where it's not palatable, but they would run the world the way they do. And this idea, America, if violence is so unacceptable, why is it so readily accepted? We use these cliches. We are used to it. You know what they call in America? People are shot all the time. People are murdered all the time with the use of guns. You know what they call it? They call it Wednesday. It's called Wednesday. It's called Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's every day of the week. And you only get outraged when it's somebody who was tribal with you. But you don't say anything when children are slaughtered.
Since you mentioned that, DL, just so you know, as we are on this live stream now, there is reportedly, breaking news, it's coming out of UMass Boston. And there's folks are running for cover there because of reports of a shooting. at UMass Boston happening just within the last 20 minutes. So it may not be a Wednesday, maybe it's a Thursday.
It's every day. Every day somebody's murdered in this country. We are, they think that it's got to be, all we offer is thoughts of prayers. It's got to be hard for God to hear prayers over the sound of gunfire and screams. It's become, and it's the country that we accept. So I can't even, it's the country we've decided to accept. But what I refuse to do is to let somebody tell me that because somebody died, it would have been okay for people to die in the way Charlie Kirk did, as long as we're in the service of the Second Amendment. That's what he said, right? That's what he said. That's what they believe. I think that that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think you live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's very unfortunate. But I can't think of a more apt, or an ironic thing than actually saying his last words were gang violence. He was actually blaming
and transgender. He was taking a question on transgender accountability or something of that nature.
Yeah. So I'm sad for his wife and children. I'm sad for the countless children who will lose their parents because of the mentality of people like that, and the countless children who will be slaughtered in schools. It's more acceptable. We'll ban books, but not the instruments of destruction, because that's who we are. That's who we are. And it's ridiculous to stop. Violence has no place in America. Violence owns beachfront property in America.
Just in moments, we're going to get Donald Trump is speaking, and we'll hear from him in a moment. But I want to play this. This is a deal. I really want you to respond to this. This is a Charlie Kirk on Black people and civil rights.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show, because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Yeah, and so it's very simple. So how do you love somebody? You love them so much to correct their error. Yeah. And so let's just, take the pride conversation out, because people think it's an identification, which it's not. It's just sexual behavior. But it's, if you meet an alcoholic or you meet a drug addict, do you affirm their struggle? No. You say, you're better than this. Let's get you free from that. Let's get you free from that activity. Now, we don't know what part Elon is saying is the actual truth. So let's go through this. Again, it's double negatives and misuse of the word disinterested. It's a strange tweet that Elon pinpointed on here. But the first part is absolutely true. Let's go to this. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan,
so we get the picture of what he's talking about there. He's talking about Black people, the civil rights movement. That was a mistake. Gay people, problematic. Jewish people, apparently he's saying killers.
But he never really had to say why it was a mistake. And ultimately, it's a mistake because, in his estimation, I would imagine, because this country, and I think to his ear, was just for white people. And Black people serve their purpose, and everybody else who's not them serve their purpose. I would just say this. America, this is America having to come to grips with the promise it made. It said that all men were created equal. It said that this, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, your. It asked for this. Black people didn't come here because there was a job fair we heard about. America had an opportunity to be just a white, a Christian country, but it couldn't handle it on its own. It had to bring other people in, and this is the America as currently constructed, which is really been consistent. America's always needed poor black and brown people to do its physical labor, and now it needs poor brown people to do its intellectual labor. So in America, if you won't pick an apple and you can't write an app, you're shit out of luck. And the problem is that we are the average American reads, the country, the average reading level is the 5th grade. They're angry that they have squandered their forefathers' inheritance, and they need somebody to blame. They always have looked for somebody to blame. So I think the civil rights movement certainly had its problems, but to say that it shouldn't have happened, what would your alternative be? For us to stay where we were? This is a man who didn't even finish ever graduate from college, but he's maligning he hasn't seen a black person apparently who's ever achieved anything from a merit perspective. They've always been set-asides and handouts. I defy you to tell me a greater gift to mediocrity than the Trump administration. They don't have a GPA of a what. So don't tell me about meritocracy and DEI and all the things that are unearned. You got a white dude who never graduated from college assessing people's intellectual acumen, and you got people now getting jobs just because of the color of their skin and their fealty.
Yeah.
America.
Go on.
America is where it is right now because this is what happens when people have to share. This is what happens when the sons of the people who had everything their way are now having to come to grips with that. People actually believe that they could become a thing in America and aspire to do it. And now they're having to compete against people and they're not prepared to do it. They're not prepared.
D.L. Hughley, thank you, sir. I always appreciate
Thank you, man.
your knowledge and perspective. I'll see you soon, my friend.
All right, be careful out here, man. All right.
Yes, you too. You too. Thank you.
Take care.
That is the great D.L. Hughley. As I mentioned before, the President of the United States has spoken out, and wait till you hear what he has to say. Also, joining us now is Jolly. He helms the Jolly Good Ginger Substack and Washington correspondent for the Don Lemon Show. Jennifer Welch is here.
YouTube.
Okay, on YouTube. Also, Jennifer Welch is here. She's the host of iHeart podcast and the author of Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches and a dear friend of this show. Sam Rosenholtz, who I can't get enough of on social media. He runs the Good Trouble TikTok channel. David Pakman is a friend of the show, and I watch every single thing he does on the David Pakman Show on YouTube every day. Walter Masterson is here, a comedian and progressive commentator and a thought leader and someone I've collaborated with. And of course, Michael Fanone. He's a former MPD officer who served for 20 years, including some time at the U.S. Capitol Police and also involved, obviously, as you know, on January 6th. So we'll hear from the President of the United States and the panel, but you'll have to indulge me just for 2 minutes for a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Beam. You know, summer's almost over, but I want to be honest, life hasn't slowed down. As you know, you saw the headlines. They just keep coming. The noise gets louder, and every day, you know, someone is trying to distract us. They're trying to divide us or just wear us down. That's not an accident. Burnout is the goal, and we're exhausted, and we're easier to control when we're exhausted. But rest, that's resistance. That's why I use Beam's Dream Powder. It's a natural sleep blend with ingredients like reishi, magnesium L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up clear-headed without the grogginess or the crash. Now, since I started using it, I felt sharper, more grounded, and ready to show up for the day ahead. And I'm not alone. Beam's Dream Powder has improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep all across the country. Oh, and it tastes incredible. It's smooth, it's delicious, easy to add to your nightly routine. So right now, Beam is offering up to 40% off their best-selling Dream Powder to my listeners. Go to shopbeam.com/lemon and use the code LEMON. That's shopbeam.com/lemon for up to 40% off. I want you to sleep well, wake up ready. The fight continues. Support comes from MSI United States. Now, I read something the other day that stopped me cold. The Trump administration is destroying $10 million worth of contraception. Contraception paid for by us, the taxpayers. Now, meanwhile, 257 million women worldwide want contraception, but they can't get it because they're poor, they're young, or they live in remote areas. When women don't have access to contraception, we see more unplanned pregnancies, more unsafe abortions. In many countries, pregnancy is still the #1 killer of young women. MSI Reproductive Choices is changing that. For just $6.50, you can provide a woman with a year of contraception. For $65, you can help 10 women take control of their lives, stay in school, and build healthier families. So please, text my last name, Lemon, to 511-511 or go to msius.org. That's msius.org, msiunitedstates.org. M for modern, S is in safe, I for united. Give today. Make a life-changing difference. So thank you to our sponsors. Here now is the President of the United States on Charlie Kirk being killed.
Not really. I'm really concerned for our country. We have a great country. We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics, and we're going to get that problem solved. I'm only concerned for the country. Yeah.
Jen, he's calling people lunatics, and we don't know the cause, who caused this, what the motivation was, or anything.
He ran on this. He ran on defeating the enemy from within. And so this doesn't surprise me. This is what I'm really, really scared about, is this being used to erode civil rights. And when we were doing the podcast during the 2024 election and they were talking about mass deportation, I told Pumps, my co-host, you guys, I was like, Pumps, they're going to put people in concentration camps. And she was like, no. And then Alligator Alcatraz comes up. And I think that when you have authoritarian figures, everything they do is about clinging on to power. And who wants us to have a civil war? Russia, our other adversaries, Xi Jinping, Modi, they're all meeting together. And then you have the president of the United States, but he's always attacked the other half of the country. And it's a really terrifying time. And I need my politicians to be better than we are. We have petty things. We feel revenge. We feel like, oh, the Latinos for Trump, you fucked around and found out. I need for the politicians to be bigger and better than I am. I need for them to want to govern for everybody. And that's not what this administration does.
Yeah. Do you think that's possible, David Pakman? Is that a pipe dream?
I mean, I think at this point, with 3 years and 4 months or whatever left of this presidential term, it's hard to be bullish that that's going to happen at this time. I mean, hopefully there would be others that would be able to sort of lower the temperature in some sense. But if you look just at the last 24 hours on Twitter and social media platforms, what we're seeing, it seems to be the opposite, raising the temperature. I know people who are canceling in-person events for the foreseeable future, just because, I mean, especially when you look at even the security situation yesterday, most people don't have as much security as was there. And still, it could do nothing to prevent this. So it seems extremely difficult to believe that we're going to see that, especially when we're not really seeing a reduction of the temperature coming from the top down.
Sam, welcome to the program. I'm so glad to have you on finally. I've been trying to get you on. I watched your content on Charlie Kirk, and you know, it resonated with me because I think everyone is dealing with this same thing. There's a conflict. Of course, you don't want anybody to be killed or die this way. However, Charlie Kirk had a lot of ill feelings for a lot of people. He was a bigot. He was a sexist. He was all of the above as it comes to bigotry.
Mm. The thing that is resonating with me is the incorrect conflation of our response to this hatred and bigotry. That somehow responding to this bigotry is hateful, and it is a useful reframing of their hate to make it look as if a response to this vitriol that affects immigrants, gay people, minorities, everyone, is somehow a violent response. And it has been the same message that they've run constantly. And anyone paying attention to this can see this, except the people who are hoovering this up and turning around and expelling this vitriol back onto the internet.
Walter?
Yeah, I think this is going to be used as justification by the far right, by the state, by MAGA, by the White House, to crack down on dissent and political dissidents. I think that this, and what's even worse, if it stopped there, that would be something we could all deal with. I think you will see centrist Democrats, neoliberals, at an institutional and political level, use this to silence their, critics and competition on the left. This is a left-wing thing. We don't know who the shooter is. This was a gunman who shot, literally anyone has been in the military has gone online and said this is the most insane shot they've ever witnessed. This is the most accurate. There's two people on this panel that can back me up on this, but of course that was the left. And we've repeatedly said as leftists, that none of us have said. I think it's funny, when I hear that people die in Gaza, I've never said, well, did they like gay people? When I hear that people drowned in Texas because of something that was preventable, I didn't particularly ask what their political affiliation was. So we're the same people that don't want violence. We're trying to get guns off the street, all of those things. Yet this is going to be used as a political football, and a way to enact violence on marginalized people, on just everyone. I'm worried. I'm a public figure. I go out in public. I go into these spaces. I go into MAGA spaces a lot. I do live shows. I'm starting a live tour next month. Amazing timing. So, yeah. And, and that being said, I just want to reiterate, I'm upset that Charlie Kirk is being martyred. I don't care about him at all. I don't like him. I don't care about him. I wish he had, I'm upset that he is a martyr, and that people are looking at him positively. There's been nothing about anything that he's ever done that has been positive towards anyone. This is a man who has said MLK was not a good person. He has said that we're better under segregation. And this is unequivocal stuff. There's no context-related things about it. And there's a lot of people that generally have no idea who this man is. They just know that he was, MAGA.
Yeah, when I went out yesterday, there were folks who had no idea. Jolly, I have to ask you, he says that he's a martyr now. That's what Walter says. He's a martyr. Listen, you are a veteran. He's getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I just wonder how you feel about that, and about how they are, if you watch the news, and it's not even just right-wing news. If you watch legacy media, Charlie Kirk appeared to me from watching was some kind of a hero.
Yeah, like we said this morning, they're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to recreate who Charlie Kirk is. But we can all see him, right? We heard what he said and have been watching him. So they don't get to gaslight us into Charlie Kirk was this great man. No, Charlie Kirk preached hate. Charlie Kirk condoned hate. Charlie Kirk said that gun deaths are useful because that way we get to keep the Second Amendment to protect our other rights. That's Charlie Kirk words, not mine. And so this is a very hateful person, and he created hate around him. He silenced marginalized voices. He made fun of marginalized communities for becoming victims of the oppressive system that he benefited greatly from. He didn't graduate college, but he makes fun of black women, the most highly educated demographic in America. So he's just an overall bad person, a hateful person. And like Walter said, and like you just pointed out, they're trying to make him a martyr. Not trying. I don't know why I'm saying trying. They're making him a martyr. Donald Trump has said the word martyr out of his mouth. MAGA online today, if you've done any amount of scrolling, they are saying this is their guy and you guys did it. And then they're also saying the part that Jennifer pointed out. They're saying this is war. That's what they're saying. There's the words coming out of their mouth. And I mean, we don't have to like do a bunch of research or try to figure this out. There's already a playbook that was written in Germany. Like this is what happens. First, we create an emergency, then we martyr somebody. I believe the guy that was martyred in Germany is like Ernst von Rompf or something. But you guys should go look at what happened in Germany because this shit's the same playbook. Like they're just doing that. And I think that Stephen Bannon and what's his name? Alex Jones and Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, these guys are behind it. So I don't think it's conspiracy to say that they're trying to manufacture a crisis to create civil unrest at best, civil war at worst.
But you're not saying that Charlie Kirk deserved what he got, I'm sure.
No, and nowhere in my words did I say that. No,
I just want to make it clear, Charlie. That's
no. If there's any ambiguity, let me be clear. As I've said multiple times, I don't condone violence. There's no room for violence. Violence only begets violence. When violence like this happens, the first communities that'll be affected are Black and brown communities and the LGBTQIA plus community, because that's who they're going to target as the left that they need to get revenge for. When they see me walking on the street, I'm coded for safety. So no, I cannot condone violence. I'll never condone violence. Not the way.
So Michael Fanone, as a victim of political violence, you have sat back for the last, what has it been, 24 or 25 hours or so, maybe a little bit longer that this has happened. You've watched the news coverage, and I want to know your feelings on this right now.
I mean, I think that when it was described as an incredibly dark time for America, that was appropriate. As somebody who, was in law enforcement in the weeks and months leading up to January 6th, I saw a lot of the rhetoric that was being utilized, describing, the election and how it had been stolen from Republicans, and that, Trump was the rightful winner of that election, and how it inspired and stoked his supporters to commit, egregious acts of violence against myself and my colleagues at the Capitol on January 6th. This is much worse. And knowing what we know, let's talk about the facts. We obviously, Charlie Kirk was murdered, but we have absolutely no information about the shooter or his or her motivations. There's a person of interest, but we don't know what, the why or who. But we have Donald Trump, again, pulling out the radical left lunatic, playbook phrasing, pointing the finger at Democrats. We have lawmakers like Nancy Mace coming out and saying that it is the fault of the radical lunatic left. And I don't know if you saw this. I sent it to you just before we got on, but I happened to see.
You want me to play it? I can play it. Let me play it for it. Play it now, and then you can respond to it. Here is this is a lawmaker blaming the media.
Sorry,
Andy,
1 second.
Every single one of you here, you're at fault. Hey, you know what? Knock it off. Knock it off.
Do you believe Republicans have a problem with that?
You are responsible for that assassination yesterday. You should be ashamed of yourself.
What about the Democratic lawmakers?
Cool hat.
Yeah. So let me paint the picture for you, because I know some of the context behind this. This was
This is Derek Van Orden, by the way. He's from Wisconsin,
Right.
a representative. Sorry,
Right.
Go ahead, Michael.
Representative Derek Van Orden. It's the steps of the Capitol. There was a press scrum in which they were interviewing another representative, and Derek Van Orden interjected himself into that interview to blame each and every one of the reporters, journalists who were there just doing their job as having been responsible or be responsible for what happened. Now, I'm going to point out Derek Van Orden was present on January 6, 2021 at the Capitol. And he certainly was not there supporting law enforcement that day. But yet he has the audacity to blame journalists for murdering Charlie Kirk. And I know one of the journalists that was there, and in the immediate aftermath of that incident, that journalist began to receive hate-filled, threatening messages from the MAGA-verse, which I'm sure all of us are quite familiar with. But that is the exact rhetoric. And then, bring up Jesse Waters. While you would,
too, if you want to hear it, by the way.
Yeah, play the soundbite.
Trump gets hit in the ear. Charlie gets shot dead. They came after Kavanaugh with a rifle to his neighborhood. They went after Musk's cars. They just shot 2 Jews outside the embassy. Think about it. Scalise got shot, barely survived. It's happening. You got trans shooters. You got riots in LA. They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people as possible. Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media, and all of these rats out there. This can never happen again. It ends now. Greg's right again. This is a turning point, and we know which direction we're going.
Yeah, Michael. No, and listen, like that was taking place while we were on our panel discussion yesterday, Don, and each and every one of us was talking about how we can't condone this type of violence, how violence has no place in America. By the way, each and every Democrat who's chimed in on this, Democratic lawmaker, elected official, what have you, has said, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there are any exceptions to this that anyone here has heard, have said unequivocally, there is no place in America for political violence, that what happened to Charlie Kirk was nothing other than a tragedy and a travesty. But yet, with Republican lawmakers, I've heard nothing but them using vile, hate-filled language directed at the political left, calling for or inciting violence against the political left. I mean, you don't have to read between the lines to understand what Jesse Waters is saying when he says we need to apply pressure to these people. We know exactly what that means. And this is a person who has a tremendous amount of influence, a tremendous amount of followers from people who, I'm just going to call it what it is, have a predisposition for violence. We saw it all unfold on January 6, 2021, when 15,000 Trump supporters, not Antifa, Trump supporters, stormed the Capitol steps and violently assaulted law enforcement officers. Now, yes, there have been incidents in this country, tragedies, travesties, in which members of all different political ideologies have committed heinous acts of violence. The difference is you don't hear Democratic lawmakers capitalizing on that moment to energize their base, stoke fear, and instill thoughts of violence and retribution. And that's what we're experiencing right now. So unfortunately, as someone who spent 2 decades as a police officer and understands retaliatory violence, it is only a matter of time before the next violent act occurs.
So I want David, listen, I want all of you guys just to speak. If you guys have something to say, please. But I wanted to, in the beginning here, make sure that everybody got their point across. So you guys now, I'm going to open the floor up to whoever wants to speak. But here's the thing. The Republican officials and these influencers, as you have seen, they've been blaming Democrats. They've declared war on the right. I want to give you some facts because Michael just brought it up. The man who targeted and killed a Democratic Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman was a Trump supporter. The man who targeted the home of Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro, which DL mentioned, was a Trump supporter. The men who wanted to hang Mike Pence on January 6th, as Michael just mentioned, Trump supporters. The man who targeted and killed the son of Obama-appointed District Judge Esther Salas, a Trump supporter. The man who tried to kidnap Nancy Pelosi and assaulted her husband was a Trump supporter. The men who were convicted trying to kidnap Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer were Trump supporters. The man who sent pipe bombs to the homes of Obama and Biden was a Trump supporter. There is no equivalent or even similar list of Obama or Biden supporters who have carried out similar murders, attempted murders, or violent attacks in this country. And before you respond, I want to put this up. This is from the Anti-Defamation League, okay? And this is who's responsible for most of the political violence in this country. 75% right-wing extremism, 75%. David, you first.
CSIS.
Is David frozen? Go ahead, Sam.
Of the shooter is, and we don't know, it is condemnable as an individual act. And one of the points vile political beliefs, I'm struggling to feel specific empathy for Charlie Kirk, and that's one thing. But if you're against gun violence and if you want to reduce killing, there can be no such instances where you say, well, in this particular case, it was good, justified, or whatever the case may be. So in order to try to tread new ground where we haven't absolutely the case.
Well, I guess David is having connectivity issues. So go ahead, Sam.
I'll just say that if you look at this pie chart, we amount to a rounding error in terms of political violence enacted in this country. And I challenge anyone to look at this and hear the list that you have just read out loud and tell us otherwise. And really, it is the insistence to not believe your own lying eyes and ears with this rhetoric that frustrates and enrages me, because you are telling me a lie to my face, and I'm telling you that I don't believe you, and then you call me hateful, and I don't understand it.
Which is why I have this hot take. All right. So this narrative that they're spinning up, that Nancy Mace and Jesse Waters and Alex Jones and who was the other one? Steve Bannon, and then this guy on the steps, and then every MAGA influencer online, they're spinning this message up. This was an attack from the left. This was a radical left lunatic. They know his motivations and his political ideologies, but we don't actually know who he is. And then when I couple, right, and I couple that with the fact that the FBI said earlier this morning, we have great footage of who it is. Haven't released the footage. We're getting a picture of a person of interest. Now they just put $100,000 on his head. There was a very, very conveniently left behind weapon that apparently has some anti-fascist transgender messaging conveniently inscribed on the bullets that was left behind at the scene. But this guy apparently is just a magician. And
I think they walked that back though, but go on.
Yeah, they did.
Did they really? Because I was reading the update right now while you guys were talking. I haven't seen when they walked it back. I'm glad they did actually. But I'm just wondering, here's my problem with the whole thing. I'm wondering if it's more convenient for them to control the narrative than us to learn the real narrative, right? I wonder if it's more convenient for them to just let this play out. And, this is, by the way, this is Kash Patel's FBI, by the way. How much do we trust Kash Patel's FBI?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I'm so sorry to jump in, because this is something I really that has been just bouncing around in my empty skull since this happened, which is a year ago. We had a Justice Department and an FBI that didn't have a vested interest in playing out or insisting on a narrative that they are getting directly from the executive branch. And regardless of what we are told from this moment forward, there is going to be skepticism from everyone as to what the truth is. And we are living in a almost psychotic upside down world where we can hear something and instantly be made flat earthers and not understand or question whether or not this investigation is being carried out correctly because of how of the extent that they've gutted the FBI and removed senior positions, and also what exactly they mean to tell us and to further this sort of like thing that Jesse Waters and Alex Jones of all these other people are shouting from the rooftops, and that's also driving me slowly crazy. Sorry.
Don, I want to say something that I think that a lot of administrations and the media have done a really bad job. I live in Oklahoma City, and when I was 19 years old, I was asleep in my apartment and the federal building blew up, and I lived on the third floor. My bed moved out to the center of the room, and it was terror in the heartland. It was a white guy, domestic terrorists. And I remember watching CNN. We didn't have the internet, and they were carrying little kids in a daycare out. And there were crosses up, and there's still a chain link fence around the memorial downtown Oklahoma City. And that was the moment to really invest in right-wing extremism. And I've been so heartbroken by my fellow Oklahomans that after January 6th, every county in this state went red after they saw the domestic terrorism on January 6th. And this is something that it has been incubating in right-wing circles and incubating and radicalizing people. And mainstream media doesn't address it because everybody assumes, well, nobody's going to believe that. That's crazy. We need to go into these spaces and start debunking these things, because normal people are sitting in rural Oklahoma and all over the United States getting radicalized, and this loneliness epidemic is making it worse. And imagine all of these church-going people in Oklahoma, terror in the heartland. We have to deal with domestic extremism. They voted for it again. It's really jaw-dropping. So it goes back to not only Merrick Garland not fixing this issue, but it goes back to us not dealing with domestic terrorism, because this has been incubating all of this time.
I want to second that. Thank you so much for saying that, because my whole thing is that they control the narrative. Like Fanone, I was at Capitol Hill on January 6th, and I witnessed that, and I saw them immediately create the Antifa narrative. I watched people walk down the steps, walk outside the Capitol, and say, that was Antifa, that wasn't me. And then everyone started screaming F Antifa. And there is a thing where, if you're a sane individual in this country, you're thinking, no one's going to believe that. That's crazy. And, right. So, and that, I think that's I think some people are waking up to that. I think at an institutional level, a lot of people are not waking up to that. They're like, people sort of think that, well, everything's just going to get really bad under the Trump administration, and the rest of the world's going to see how bad it is. And no, because they control the narrative. General Mike Flynn put that on me. He put January 6th on me. I was the cause. I was the Antifa antagonizer. 90 days ago, there was someone gunned down and hunted like a dog in Minnesota. And, apparently that was, a woke, person that worked for Tim Walz. They spun the narrative right around. I mean, they could find the shooter. They could be wearing a MAGA hat, and their voting record could be, they voted for Trump every single time. but that's not going to make a difference. They will spin it around to something else. They
But
will
Walter,
remove themselves from the narrative.
We discussed that this morning on our editorial call and a little bit on the live stream, is that whenever if it is a person on the right who is responsible, it becomes a false flag. That it is someone on the left impersonating someone on the right, or they either make fun of the person who is the victim, like Paul Pelosi, and they turn it into some sort of gay lover thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is never serious. It's never as serious as when it's someone on the left who is accused of committing these crimes. I want to ask you guys this. Do you feel safe now? Because everyone has been cautioning me, and I just wonder, do you, Walter? You're going on tour.
Yeah, I'm going on tour, so I'm just plugging my stand-up comedy tour. But yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone that's, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
You're talking to someone that has been, I've been going into these spaces for years. I've accepted the fact that some things might go sideways for years. So, I've already come to terms with this. So, but I mean, yesterday was a little like confronting with that. I mean, these are conversations I've had for years on how to avoid violence.
Yeah.
So I mean, I already have my things on how to avoid it. I don't know how I would fare if people were just, pulling out guns and shooting progressives that they didn't like, as retaliation.
I don't know if there's much you can do, Walter, because Charlie Kirk had personal security there yesterday as well. So, you can take all the precautions you want if someone wants to do it. Jolly, do you feel safe?
Nail you from hundreds of yards away and, with military grade precision. I mean, that is, I'd like to hear from the military people on this panel about how good of a shot that potentially was.
I mean, it's 200 yards, but what I would say is the shot is less impressive to me than is this egress, right? Like he was in an advantageous position to take the shot. There was nothing much in his way as far as obstructions. He got the shot off 200 yards. I mean, not a crazy shot. It's a good shot. And I heard that from other people, it was extremely windy. I don't know that the wind plays that much of a role in that 200 yards, but it's a good shot. But the egress, this goes back to what Jen was saying and what Walter was saying. They're controlling the narrative. And I would just wonder if they're interested in this narrative being corrected by actually finding the person. Like that would like them. To your point, Don, statistically, it was a right-wing guy who did this. I mean, the person who who killed the guy in Butler and the glass shattered and cut Trump's ear, that guy was a right-wing nut. He was a conservative guy. And so it probably is. So they want to control that narrative. Do I feel safe? This is a good time to mention, for those who don't know, because it was sent to me earlier, there is a current hit list going around X that's gaining traction of where they're putting the left-wing influencers who they feel most responsible for this. My name is on that list. Walter, your name is on that list. Should have told you probably offline. And your name's on it in good trouble, along with some other people I know. But this is gaining traction on X, on the cesspool, which is X. So I've got a lot of threats. I think everybody on this panel has gotten a lot of threats over the years on social media. We're used to threats. We know what threats look like. Their DMs, their comments, their vile things. I will say the threats over the last 24 hours have been wildly different. The temperature's changed, and I think I can feel it. I think a lot of us can feel it. And this is why I don't condone violence, because it just creates more violence.
Jen, I want to know about you. Michael, I'm going to get you last since you're the law enforcement expert on this panel. Jen, what about you?
This really shook me. Everything that Charlie Kirk said offended me and hurt me on a level where I want to advocate for people. But his death made me really sad. It made me sad that we live in a country where just a few years ago, when I picked my son up from school, I said, "How was school today?" And he said, "Oh, we did an active shooter drill." So regardless of who is on the receiving end of gun violence, it really, really makes me sad. And then when I hear the government response and how dangerous / immature it is that we have such imbeciles that are so petty and immature, that only want to govern for people that believe the same way they believe, it terrifies me. After I went on the whole Cracker Barrel rant, Fox News did a whole day, Let's Hate on Jennifer Welch Day, and I got like the worst messages. I got stacks of snail mail, which I was very impressed with, that people took the time to write out the letters and get a stamp. But, that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of care into your hate. So I've gotten all of that. But what really terrified me was my sons. One is in law school and the other is at USC. And they texted me and they were like, Mom, be really careful. Like, we love you and we love what you're doing, but just be really careful. And, at the end of the day, I mean, people shit talk, people smack talk. And, I've smack talked Charlie Kirk a lot. The rhetoric on the right, which Charlie Kirk was at the epicenter of, the conversations about women, about minorities, it incubates more of this stuff, in my opinion. And it incubates it. This is where Timothy McVeigh came out of. And it has been growing, and our country has never dealt with it at all.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. So, the one point I wanted to make was the fact that, you ask if I feel safe. Well, of course I don't feel safe. Nobody in this space, if you feel safe, you're an idiot. And I'll tell you why I don't feel as though that's just, hysteria or, foolishness. And that is that Donald Trump has called for violence against his political opponents, against his dissenters. And when thousands of Americans acted upon that and were brought to justice and were charged criminally and sentenced, he pardoned them. And so what makes this moment different is that all of these people that Donald Trump, Derek Van Orden, Nancy Mace, Jesse Waters are inciting with their violent rhetoric and calling for, in no uncertain terms, retribution, that there are Americans out there that support that and are now under the assumption that if they commit acts of violence on behalf of this administration, that they are going to be protected from any type of prosecution, and not only protected, but lionized as heroes of the day. We have seen individuals, some of the ones that that attacked me, become prominent figures in Republican politics, be invited as guests of honor to Republican political events, dinners, wined and dined, invited to the White House. And so anyone who dissents, with this administration should recognize that as a serious threat, because Donald Trump has given these individuals permission to come after people like us.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to have all of you here today. Anybody else have anything to say? This is an important one. Jen, we usually have much more fun. We're more lively. Everybody's talking over each other.
I came straight from the tennis court, you guys. That's why I don't have on my classic blazer. And I was ripping forehands, and it was very therapeutic.
You are such a white lady right now.
I am. I'm a white lady for good, though. I'm the anti-Karen. Fuck all of y'all.
I love it.
You are that. That's why we love you, Jen. But I said, Jen, do you want to talk about this in a meet before I could hit send? She's like, yes. I'm like,
yes.
Would you mind being on a panel? She's like, I'll see you there.
We need this community. We need it. This is really scary stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to add one thing, if I can, while we're on the topic of this, of safety, of it's justified and things are heating up. I just sent a video over to Nikki. I hope she got it. if you don't mind playing this video. I think it's very, 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 very important to talk about what is being said, because there's no ambiguity right now on social media about what the people on the right are saying. They're not beating around the bush. They're not trying to code their words. They're not trying to, insinuate things. They're just outright saying, nope, this is war. We're coming for you. And let's meet up off the app and let's make plans and let's make these right or left wingers pay for what they've done. Now, we don't even know the shooter yet, but that's what
We
they're
got
saying.
it, Charlie. We got it. We have the sound bit. Here it is.
Yeah, can you play it?
Is it time now? Because I'm fucking ready. Is anybody else fucking ready? Because I am. A liberal leftist shot Charlie Kirk in the neck.
And Charlie Kirk is gone because of politics.
I think it's time we get a big group together of like-minded individuals and we start discussing things amongst ourselves. Good morning, everybody. We are going to meet at Harbor Freight in Cookeville in the parking lot at 11 a.m.
That's where they're gonna buy those sheets. It's in the Harbor Freight.
And these people are going to have the full backing of the state.
Yeah.
That part.
That is the, you know what, this under Trump 1.0, this would have been like, right? Because Trump first term, he's like, I'm not going to, now they are so emboldened. I'd be shocked if a member of the Trump administration didn't personally show up there, and give him a good attaboy.
And like Michael said, the precedence is already set too, that political violence or just violence on Trump's behalf. We got your back, dude. Don't worry, we'll pardon you.
Yeah.
That precedence is set. And also, I think January 6th, another really, really good comparison here is, Walter, remember we went to the Million MAGA March in November, and then we went to the first Stop the Steal March in December. And I have videos posted on my social media where both Walter and I were saying, man, this rhetoric's amping up. They're getting worse. They're getting crazier by the March. And then they planned January 6th. And I have text messages between myself and Walter from January 5th where I said, I think this is it, bro. I think they're going to do some crazy shit tomorrow. It's going to be historical, because we watched the rhetoric ramp up over a 3-month period, and boom, it happened. And so now we're watching the same thing. I mean, anybody who considers what we're feeling as hysteria or considers this, to be just hyperbolic, you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen. I think you wanted to say something.
Oh, I agree with the stuff that Walter was saying. And when you know that the president of the United States, like during January 6th, I never forget about this. He was in the little dining room and he thinks so little about these people. He said, there's been reporting that he said, God, I wish these supporters didn't look so trashy. This was reported on. And he has such disdain for them and he doesn't care about them at all, as evidenced by all of his policies that are going out. But they love him. They like Brokeback Mountain, can't quit him. I mean, it is cult. It is so crazy, you guys. It is just, it's terrifying.
It's even worse than that. The MAGA movement hates the J6ers. Russell and I, Jolly Good Ginger and I were at CPAC. We were thrown out of CPAC. They did a sweep and we had press passes. So we were like, well, you gave us a press pass, really? They did a sweep, tossed Jolly Good Ginger and me and some others and the J6ers. Like, we were the same thing. They tossed the head of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, the J6ers, the other J6ers, and like it was the same. They were just like, y'all are friggin' trash. And it wasn't until there was blowback because Trump does, he does regard these people as very useful idiots.
Yeah.
The entire MAGA movement does. They show up. Charlie Kirk doesn't show up. Like that's actually a big thing. The right-wing influencers show up to nothing. The J6ers are the ones dumb enough.
They're incubators, Walter. They incubate it. They are incubators.
Those people hate the J6ers. They're embarrassed by them. To watch it in person is like, and to listen to J6ers talk. If Trump didn't publicly love them as photo ops, I mean, they would be in the trash can. If it wasn't, which is saying a lot, and so there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The last thing. I don't want to put so much weight on this, but there's one guy that has every opportunity to lower the fucking temperature right now. All it would take is to just say, hey guys, chill out. I'm not going to be the president of insults anymore. Actually, I'm just gonna govern. But no, it is politically advantageous to continue to do this, and it's so politically advantageous that all of everyone down the ladder of power are leaning into this. And all it would take is some Republican lawmakers to grow a fucking backbone and say, hey, maybe we don't threaten our fellow countrymen. Maybe we stop villainizing your countrymen. And it's not. They not only will they not do that, they're going to step on the gas, and it is to all of our peril. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. As you can see, I've got a hungry child here. He's like, it's 6:00, Dad. It's time.
Fox News headline tonight: Don Lemon doesn't feed his dog.
Don Lemon breastfeeds. Breastfeeds on live stream.
Don Lemon talks about white people and he has a white dog.
Well, I know, we are these beta cocks that stop live streams to feed our dog. At the same time, we are capable of just immense violence.
Yes, and I do have a black dog that's right here.
We have a weather machine. We have vaccines that once injected, turn you into a transgender. I mean, it is just.
I have a space laser. Don't
space
forget.
lasers. I mean,
is it Jewish? Is your laser? Yeah. Oh, you are Jewish.
It's got a big. It's got a big. Yeah.
At the same time,
we're a bunch of
these
we're a bunch of weak
beta cocks.
We're weak, dumb betas who are secretly taking over the whole world.
That can shoot
with our
people
master
from
plan.
200 yards.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much, guys and lady. Jen, thank you. Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
Sam. Good trouble. Thank you, Walter. Thank you,
you.
Jolly. Michael, thank you. I will be in touch with all of you soon. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Sure.
So
thanks, buddy. See you guys.
It was so great to have those, every one of those folks on, and because they contribute so much to what's happening in the world, and they are in the zeitgeist right now. I got some more to talk to you about, but first I just want to get in a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Wild Alaskan Company. Now, when was the last time that you truly trusted the seafood you brought home? And I used to question everything: nutrition, taste, sustainability, until I found Wild Alaskan Company. Their seafood is 100% wild caught. It's never farmed, no antibiotics, no GMOs, no additives, just clean, real fish packed with omega-3s, frozen right off the boat, so the freshness is locked right in. So I personally love their sockeye salmon. I say it all the time: rich flavor, great texture, and I know it supports sustainable fishing practices. And you can try it risk-free. If you're not completely satisfied, they're going to give you a full refund. So get $35 off of your first box of premium wild-caught seafood at wildalaskan.com/lemon. That's wildalaskan.com/lemon. I want you to eat better, support healthy oceans. Support comes from Shopify. Now, this show started as just a dream, and Shopify turned that dream into a business. Starting your own thing can feel really overwhelming. So what if I can't design a website? What if I can't do it alone? Shopify makes it simple for you. It powers millions of businesses worldwide, 10% of all US e-commerce. Now, they've got beautiful templates, AI tools for product images and descriptions, and built-in marketing support to help you find customers. So here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify for our own merch. And if you ever get stuck or ever gotten stuck, they have this 24/7 award-winning customer support that's always there, and it's going to help you out, all right? So turn those what-ifs into ka-chings. Sign up for $1 per month at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. You can start your dream today. You can start at $1 per month. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Of course, thanks to all of our sponsors. And it was a very busy show. I'm so glad that you guys are all here. Thank you so much If there is anything you would like to know about the Don Lemon Show, you can get it at donlemon.com. There it is, donlemon.com. Here on YouTube, you can get the other places we stream on Spotify, on iHeart Radio, and on Apple Podcasts. So if you click on the main page, you can become a member of the show. Just hit join, or you can subscribe. The subscriptions are free, but if you join, it is a membership and it's very reasonable. So make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you support all independent media, not just me, because it's really important. You're getting the real thing from us. We have the folks who are out there in the trenches who are telling the truth. And some of them, they have a chance to go on legacy media. And when they go, they tell you the truth, okay? Especially Jen Welch, all right? And Michael Fanone and Jolly as well. So listen, I'm going to leave it here for you guys. I want you to be safe out there, okay? I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to understand that we need an army to fight. And I don't mean that like army with, weapons, that kind of thing. We need an army to fight the fascism, the anti-democratic sentiment that's out there, the autocracy, but what feels like a dictatorship right now. We need an army for that. So make sure you support us. Make sure you support independent media, and you continue to tune into our stuff and give our channel. Go into our main page and text our channel to a friend and tell them to subscribe, okay? We have great stuff here. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you joining us. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time for Hot Topics. And until I see you then, you can be informed without being inundated with craziness, all of the madness. So turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.